Stop for a moment before your mind begins explaining things, before you start comparing, judging, or trying to choose the smartest answer. Just pause. Now imagine an image in front of you. 6 different women standing side by side, each one carrying a slightly different presence, a different posture, a different feeling in the way she holds herself. Your task is simple. Look at them and notice which one your attention moves toward first. Not the one that seems most impressive, not the one you think you should choose, just the one your eyes land on naturally. That first pull matters more than you might think, because the mind is strange in a beautiful way. Before logic arrives with explanations, another part of you is already noticing patterns. Quietly, instantly, almost like recognition. Sometimes we are drawn toward a certain type of person because something in them feels familiar. Sometimes because they represent a quality we admire. And sometimes because they carry an energy we may secretly need more of in our lives right now. The interesting thing is that this process often happens beneath awareness. Your mind notices posture, confidence, warmth, calmness, intensity, or freedom long before you consciously analyze it. So the woman who captures your attention first might not simply be someone you like. She might represent a direction your inner world is leaning toward, a quality your mind respects, a kind of strength you admire, or a kind of peace you may be craving without realizing it. In exercises like this, instinct usually speaks before logic begins negotiating with it. And that instinctive reaction can sometimes reveal surprisingly honest clues about how you are feeling beneath the surface of your daily routines. You are not choosing a perfect person. You are simply noticing where your attention naturally rests. And sometimes, that small moment of attraction says more about your inner landscape than a long explanation ever could. In a moment, you will see 6 different women labeled A through F. Your only task will be to notice which one quietly pulls your attention first. Don't analyze it yet. Just notice, because that small, instinctive choice may reflect something about the energy you are moving toward in your life right now. Before we move forward, it helps to understand what this exercise actually is. This is not a test that places you into a rigid category, and it is not meant to diagnose or define you. Instead, think of it as a moment of reflection, a small mirror you can hold up to your current state of mind. Human attention is rarely random. The things we notice first often carry emotional meaning, even when we are not aware of it. A posture can feel reassuring. A confident stance can feel inspiring. A relaxed presence can feel comforting. These reactions happen quickly because your mind is constantly scanning for patterns that feel safe, familiar, or meaningful. When you see different people with different expressions and energies, your attention tends to drift toward the one that resonates most with something inside you. Sometimes we are drawn toward qualities we already have. Other times, we are drawn toward qualities we feel we need more of. Strength, calmness, independence, warmth, creativity, stability. Each of these energies can speak to a different part of your inner life. That is why exercises like this can feel strangely accurate. Not because the image itself holds magic, but because your own mind is responding honestly to what it sees. So rather than thinking of this as a personality label, think of it as a small clue, a signal about what your attention is recognizing right now. Another important thing to remember is that your choice does not mean you are identical to the woman you choose. It simply suggests that something about her presence reflects a mindset, emotional rhythm, or life energy that resonates with you in this moment. Sometimes that resonance comes from admiration, sometimes from familiarity, sometimes from a quiet desire to move toward a different version of yourself. All of that is completely normal. People change, grow, and shift through different seasons of life. The qualities we feel drawn to often reflect where we are emotionally or what we may be navigating internally. So approach this exercise with curiosity rather than judgment. There are no right answers here, only observations that may help you understand your own patterns a little more clearly. In the next step, you will simply look at the 6 options and choose the one that your attention notices first. And remember, the most interesting answers usually appear when you let your intuition respond before your logic begins explaining things. Now it is time for the simple but important part of this exercise. In front of you are 6 different women labeled A, B, C, D, E, and F. Each one carries a slightly different presence, not necessarily better or worse than the others, just different in the energy they express. Take a moment and look at them carefully, but do not overanalyze. The goal is not to study every detail or search for the most logical answer. Instead, notice which one your attention moves toward naturally. If you can, pause the video for a moment and give yourself a few seconds to observe the image. Then ask yourself a simple question. Which woman did I notice first? Not the one that seems most impressive. Not the one you think represents who you should be. Simply the one your eyes were drawn to almost automatically. That first instinct is usually the most interesting one. When we allow our attention to move freely, it often reveals subtle preferences that our logical mind might try to override later. If 2 options feel very close, that is completely normal. In that case, think back to the first moment you looked at the image. Which figure did your eyes land on first? Even if only for a second, that brief moment of attention is often the most honest signal. To help you notice the overall feeling of each option, here is a quick impression of the energy each woman might represent. These are not strict definitions, just small hints that capture the general mood of each presence. A often feels calm, thoughtful, and quietly observant. B tends to feel strong, determined, and grounded in action. Often carries a focused and strategic presence. Usually feels expressive, creative, and free-spirited. Often gives the impression of warmth, steadiness, and emotional reliability. F tends to feel composed, independent, and slightly mysterious. Again, do not think about these descriptions too deeply. They are simply impressions, not rules. What matters most is which woman your attention chose before you started analyzing the reasons. Once you have your letter in mind, hold on to it. In the next sections, we will explore what each choice might suggest about the energy you may be drawn toward in your life right now. If your attention moved first to woman A, you may be someone who naturally notices emotional depth and quiet presence in people. This choice often appears when someone feels drawn to warmth that does not need to be loud in order to be strong. The kind of energy that listens carefully, observes closely, and understands more than it immediately says. People who resonate with this option often have a reflective side. You may be someone who thinks deeply about experiences, conversations, and the emotions behind them. While others move quickly from moment to moment, you might notice subtle details in tone, behavior, or atmosphere that many people overlook. That awareness can be a powerful strength. It allows you to understand people more clearly and to connect with them in meaningful ways. Many people who feel drawn to this type of presence value sincerity, emotional honesty, and genuine connection over surface impressions. At the same time, this sensitivity can sometimes bring its own challenges. When you notice so much, it can become easy to carry feelings that are not entirely yours. You may replay conversations in your mind, or spend time wondering whether you could have responded differently in certain situations. Sometimes the same awareness that helps you understand others can also lead to overthinking your own reactions. Instead of simply letting a moment pass, your mind may continue exploring it long after it has ended. If this option resonated with you, it might suggest that a part of your inner world is currently seeking softness and emotional clarity. Not weakness, but a gentle space where you can feel understood without needing to explain every thought or emotion. The growth insight connected to this choice is often about balance. Sensitivity does not need to turn into emotional weight. It can remain a strength when you allow yourself moments of rest from constant reflection. One helpful step might be to practice expressing small truths more openly. Not dramatic confessions, but simple, honest statements about how you feel or what you need in the moment. Sometimes the quiet strength you admire in others is already present within you. It simply becomes clearer when you allow yourself to speak with the same calm honesty that you offer to the people around you. If your attention moved first to woman B, you may be someone who feels drawn to strength that shows itself through action. This choice often resonates with people who respect discipline, determination, and the ability to keep moving forward even when life becomes demanding. The energy of this option tends to feel grounded and focused, like someone who knows where they are going and is willing to work steadily to get there. Many people who feel connected to this presence have a strong internal drive. You may naturally value progress, improvement, and the satisfaction that comes from building something meaningful over time. Challenges might not always feel comfortable, but you often see them as something that can be faced rather than avoided. Because of this mindset, others may view you as dependable or resilient. When situations become uncertain, you might be the person who focuses on what needs to be done instead of becoming overwhelmed by the problem itself. That ability to stay steady during pressure can be an important strength. However, this same determination can sometimes carry a hidden weight. People who push themselves forward consistently may begin to feel that rest needs to be earned rather than allowed. Even when things are going well, there can be a quiet voice that encourages you to keep proving yourself or to continue striving for the next goal. If this option resonated with you, it might suggest that you are currently in a phase of life where effort and responsibility have taken center stage. You may be working towards something important or holding yourself to a high personal standard. The growth insight connected to this choice often involves learning that strength and recovery are not opposites. Progress does not only come from pushing harder, it can also come from giving yourself the space to restore your energy so that your efforts remain sustainable over time. A helpful practice for this energy is to treat rest as a deliberate part of the process rather than as a pause from it. Just as training builds strength through effort and recovery, personal growth often happens through both movement and renewal. The discipline you admire in this presence may already exist within you. The next step may simply be learning how to support that strength with the same patience you use when building anything meant to last. If your attention moved first to woman C, you may be someone who feels naturally drawn to clarity, direction, and quiet competence. This presence often attracts people who value structure and understanding. Rather than drifting through situations without a plan, you might prefer to observe carefully, understand how things work, and then move forward with intention. Many individuals who resonate with this option enjoy seeing patterns. You may find satisfaction in organizing ideas, building systems, or thinking several steps ahead before making a decision. In uncertain environments, this mindset can create a sense of stability because you trust your ability to analyze what is happening and respond thoughtfully. People around you may notice this quality as calm authority. Even when you are not trying to lead, your focus and composure can make others feel that you understand the direction things should move. However, the same ability to analyze and plan can sometimes create subtle pressure. When your mind is constantly searching for the next improvement or the next objective, it may become difficult to feel finished with anything. There can always be another adjustment, another refinement, another step that could make the result even better. If this option resonated with you, it might suggest that you are currently in a phase where control and clarity feel especially important. You may be building something meaningful in your life, whether that involves your work, your personal goals, or the direction you want your future to take. The challenge with this energy is not the desire for progress itself. The challenge sometimes appears when progress begins to feel like the only acceptable state. When everything must be optimized, it can become harder to appreciate moments that are simply complete as they are. The growth insight connected to this choice often involves allowing room for imperfection. Not as a mistake, but as a natural part of movement. Real progress rarely follows a perfectly structured path. It includes pauses, experiments, and moments that are unfinished while they are still evolving. A gentle practice for someone connected to this energy might be choosing one small area of life where good enough is allowed to exist. Not as a compromise, but as a reminder that direction matters more than constant refinement. Sometimes the strongest form of control is the ability to release it when the moment calls for trust. If your attention moved first to woman D, you may be someone who feels drawn to expression, color, and a sense of emotional freedom. This presence often attracts people who value authenticity, the kind of energy that does not feel restricted by rigid expectations, but instead moves through life with curiosity and personal voice. You might be someone who senses quickly when something feels genuine or when it feels forced. Rather than simply following routines because they exist, you may naturally ask whether those routines actually reflect the life you want to live. People who resonate with this option often carry a creative or intuitive side. Creativity does not always mean art or music. It can also show itself as original thinking, emotional insight, or the ability to see possibilities where others only see rules. Because of this, you may feel energized by environments where individuality is welcomed. Spaces where people can express themselves honestly rather than constantly adjusting to fit expectations. However, this same desire for freedom can sometimes bring its own challenges. When independence and authenticity are deeply important, structure may occasionally feel restrictive rather than supportive. Routine might appear to limit spontaneity, even when it could actually provide stability. If this option resonated with you, it might suggest that you are currently exploring questions about personal alignment. You may be asking yourself whether the life you are building truly reflects your inner values and interests. The growth insight connected to this energy is not about limiting your freedom. Instead, it is about creating a foundation that protects it. When creativity is supported by a small amount of structure, it often becomes easier to explore new ideas without feeling scattered or overwhelmed. A helpful practice might be introducing one simple anchor into your daily rhythm. Something steady and grounding that remains consistent even when other parts of life change. With that stability in place, your natural curiosity and expression can move more freely. The freedom you admire in this presence may not come from escaping structure entirely. Sometimes it grows from building just enough support that your authentic voice has space to expand. If your attention moved first to woman E, you may be someone who feels drawn to steadiness, warmth, and a quiet sense of emotional reliability. This presence often resonates with people who value stability in relationships and everyday life. Rather than chasing constant excitement, you may appreciate environments where trust, consistency, and genuine care can grow over time. People who feel connected to this energy are often naturally supportive. You might be the kind of person who remembers important details about others, checks in when someone seems distant, or offers help without needing to be asked. These qualities can make you someone that others rely on. Friends, family members, or colleagues may feel comfortable turning to you when they need reassurance or practical support. Even if you do not see yourself as particularly strong, Your calm presence may provide a sense of safety for the people around you. However, this reliability can sometimes come with a hidden challenge. When you become the person who helps hold things together, it can slowly turn into an unspoken role. Others may begin to assume that you will always manage responsibilities, emotions, or difficult situations simply because you have done so before. Over time, this pattern can lead to carrying more than you intended. Not because you are forced to, but because caring for others feels natural and important to you. Saying yes can feel easier than asking someone else to step in. If this option resonated with you, it might suggest that a part of your inner world is currently seeking balance between giving and receiving. Supporting others can be meaningful, but it also becomes healthier when care flows in both directions. The growth insight connected to this choice often involves allowing yourself to be supported as well. Trusting that relationships can remain strong even when you occasionally step back from the role of the steady one. A gentle practice might be asking for help with something small, even if you are capable of handling it alone. This simple action can create space for others to contribute and for you to experience the same care you often offer. The stability you admire in this presence does not mean you must always carry the weight. Sometimes true strength appears when support becomes shared rather than one-sided. If your attention moved first to woman F, you may be someone who feels drawn to independence, composure, and a quiet sense of personal sovereignty. This presence often resonates with people who value space, self-direction, and emotional clarity. The energy here tends to feel calm and contained, like someone who understands their boundaries and protects their inner world carefully. Many individuals who connect with this option appreciate autonomy. You might enjoy having time to think, to move at your own pace, and to choose relationships that feel meaningful rather than maintaining many connections that feel superficial. Because of this mindset, you may prefer depth over quantity when it comes to friendships or social circles. A few trusted connections can feel more valuable than constant interaction with many people. People around you might notice your composure. Even when situations become complicated, you may appear calm or self-controlled. That steadiness can create the impression that you are comfortable handling life on your own terms. However, independence sometimes carries a quieter challenge. When self-reliance becomes a primary strategy, it can slowly reduce the space where others are invited to participate in your inner life. Protecting your peace can be helpful, but it may also make vulnerability feel unfamiliar or risky. If this option resonated with you, it might suggest that you are currently in a phase where personal boundaries and self-definition feel especially important. You may have learned through experience that protecting your time, energy, and emotional space allows you to live more intentionally. The growth insight connected to this energy is not about giving up independence. Instead, it often involves allowing certain trusted people to see more of your authentic experience. Independence and connection can exist together when boundaries remain clear and mutual respect is present. A gentle step might be sharing something small but genuine with someone you trust, not because you must rely on them, but because connection can sometimes deepen when people are invited into moments that are honest rather than perfectly composed. The calm strength you admire in this presence can remain intact while still allowing space for closeness. Sometimes independence becomes even more meaningful when it exists alongside relationships that feel safe and sincere. Now that you have heard the meaning connected to each choice, take a moment to step back and look at the exercise from a wider perspective. You did not simply choose a person. You noticed a direction your attention naturally moved toward. In many ways, that small moment of attraction can act like a signal from your inner world. Sometimes we are drawn to qualities that already exist within us. Other times, We notice qualities that represent something we may be needing more of in this phase of life. Both possibilities can offer useful insight. Seen in a simple way, each choice can reflect a different kind of inner energy. Option A may relate to a desire for emotional softness and deeper understanding. Option B may connect with strength, momentum, and purposeful effort. Option C may reflect a search for clarity, planning, and steady direction. Option D may highlight the need for expression, authenticity, and creative space. Option E may relate to stability, care, and supportive relationships. Option F may point toward independence, personal boundaries, and self-defined peace. None of these qualities are fixed identities. They are simply different ways people navigate life depending on their circumstances and emotional needs. The interesting part is not whether the description fits perfectly. The interesting part is noticing which ideas resonate with your current experience and which ones invite deeper reflection. Sometimes even a small moment of curiosity can reveal something meaningful about the direction you are growing toward. At the end of this exercise, the most valuable step is simple reflection. Think again about the woman you chose first. Ask yourself what quality in that presence felt familiar or meaningful to you. Sometimes the answer appears immediately. Other times, it becomes clearer after you notice how the idea connects with your current experiences. You can also try a small additional observation. Which option felt like your second choice? That quiet alternative can sometimes represent another side of your personality or a direction you may be gradually moving toward. If you feel comfortable sharing, write your letter in the comments and mention what made that choice stand out to you. It is always fascinating to see the patterns that appear when many people reflect on the same exercise. Your first instinct was not random. It was simply a small moment where your attention revealed something about the energy that resonates with you right now.